Hi, this is Srinivas from Naukritube. Today we have a guest from Bangalore, and is Mr. Sheshadri. He's a corporate, and today we will discuss about the job scenario during the COVID.
My question to you is very simple. COVID has taken over. There is a certain amount of recession. So, one, where do you see the jobs going? And do you think there's going to be a shift in, say, say sectors which will be recruiting more? And two, is the process going to change?
So thanks for having me over for this chat show. Wonderful meeting both of you. And I think, yes, there is definitely a recession, which is looming large over all of us. And times are definitely not good. And things are changing. But in every adversity, there's always an opportunity. And we see an opportunity here, which I'll discuss in a while. But let me first answer the first two questions. Job market has been hit, definitely. In fact, I was reading the paper today that in terms of universities in India and abroad and in US, many of them are closing down. And it was from World Economic Forum, and they were saying close to 21,000 people in Australia in the education sector are going to lose their jobs. Now, does this mean the end of everything? Maybe not. These are trying times. The other side of job market is that there is recruitment happening big time in insurance, banking, finance, and internet sector. Right there, the job market is very, very booming, I would say, and people are recruiting there. In fact, I have a client who are into this field, and they have opened a capacity in Bangalore where currently people are giving away office space. So they have taken up an office space and they're recruiting 2,000 people or 2,200 people for their IT services. Coming to the platform part of it, I think traditionally platforms like a resume, which we used to send as an attachment or we used to hand over in a envelope to people, is changing fast. And I think that's where you guys are coming in terms of Naukritube, where video resumes are being promoted. So I'd like to take some time to explain this to you, if you allow me.
Yeah, sure.
I think video resumes first came into picture somewhere in 1980, right? And those years, it was in the form of a VHS tape, which we used to have.
Yes.
Now, the practicality of this part was very difficult because, first of all, the availability of a VCR, then recording, and then ensuring that the cassette reaches and that person has a video recorder to play it back. And of course, the cost and the logistics and all these things were difficult. Jump forward to year, I would say 2000, yes, 2000, 2001. I was the national channel head for Reliance. And at that time, we saw this amazing idea by the patriarch, which is the senior Ambani. He had envisaged this entire platform that we see today in terms of video on demand, video conferencing, and part of this story was video resume. In fact, we did start video resume way back in, I think, 2003, 2004. But due to bandwidth issues, due to again issues of internet not being available, desktops, etc., it didn't take off the way it was envisaged. Now we come to the current context of today's time, where I think it's a brilliant idea to have it before. Okay, let me go back to the Reliance days, and then I was the CEO for Karnataka for Reliance. Even then we tried it, and Hindustan Lever used to use this platform very often and very effectively, but not for video resume, but for training their salespeople. They had a huge feet on street training team. And what they used to do was, we had Reliance stores across the country and of course in Karnataka. So they didn't have an office, but they would go into the stores, they would lock themselves in a high bandwidth video room, and they would have their sales calls in the morning, and they'll come back in the evening and report the sales of the day. Now, the problem we faced for video resume and other online platforms then was that connectivity and availability of computers. Right? So
Yeah.
it didn't take off the way we had envisaged. However, it was a great platform. And today we are seeing that YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Zoom, everything is happening through internet. Coming to
Right.
video platform, which is very, can I continue?
Yeah,
Certainly,
sure.
certainly.
Coming to video platform, I think it's the most potent and most effective tool in today's time. The reason being, psychologists and even in NLP, it is said that communication, which you and I are doing right now, 55% of communication is physiology, which is body language. How I sit,
Right.
how I talk, how I move, am I erect, am I sloppy, am I looking disinterested, bored. 55% of human communication is physiology, which is body language. 38% of the rest is rate, tonality, and pitch. How I speak,
Right.
the pause, the depth, the speed at which I speak, and only 7% is words. Now, in the previous format, when we used to give resumes through print, which is make it in a computer, print it from a stationery shop or this Xerox shops and give it or courier it, we couldn't see the 93% of the person, which is physiology and tonality and rate. Now, video resume, this Naukritube is bridging that gap for candidates and for recruiters. And trust me, as the CEO of Karnataka Circle, it was a mammoth Herculean task for me to go through resumes. And recruitment is such an integral part of an organization, of a team, of achieving your specific goals for the organization, be it revenue, product, or anything else. So looking for people is the most fundamental and the most important thing for any organization. And I think through Naukritube, this 93% of a person will be easily examined by every recruiter.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
which brings me to my next question. And how hard or what do you think should be the process in place if somebody is recruiting a candidate? What are the things he needs to check out when he's looking at a video resume for that particular candidate?
I think first and foremost, the most important thing for all of us, be it recruiter, be it an entrepreneur, be it the MD of a company, or friends, or home, we need to ask a set of right questions, right? The set of questions are extremely important in whatever transaction we are doing in our lives. So when you ask the right question, as I said, the 55%, 38%, and 7% can be judged. For example, we call it as success thinking. In success thinking, what we call it is that the words a person chooses to express what's going on in his mind, right? The rate and tonality, and then the questions they ask. These three things are important. This, if integrated into the process of the requirements, the KRA KPIs that we want to fill in, the experience, and the job fitment, all these things can be summarized and accurately fitted into if we ask these three things in a most appropriate manner.
Fair enough. For the person who's going to the interview or preparing his profile, what are the points that he needs to keep in mind while making a video profile? What are the say 5 things that certainly should be there?
I think the first thing which I just tweeted, I think day before yesterday, when meeting somebody, be in your happiest mood.
Right.
In your best mood, right? Psych yourself, do whatever you want, leave your worries. I remember long back, about a year and a half back, I was flying into Mumbai, and there was this flight, I think it was Indigo, and I had fortunately got the first seat. And there they said that leave your worries outside the door, you're taking an important job, right? So when coming in for any interview or video resume, the first thing I would say is that look your best in terms of internally look your best. Outside, we can all deck up. We can wear the best clothes, the best colors, and set it up in the right atmosphere. But I think first and foremost, and the most important, is feel good inside. And when you do that, it'll come out naturally in the video resume. Number one. Number two could be a good bandwidth and a mic. The practical aspects of video resume.
Right.
Many a times I do a lot of Zoom sessions now because of the pandemic, reinvented myself on workshops. And one of the key things is that you're not able to hear, inadequate bandwidth, the screen. People do it on phones, and the phones differ. The camera is not clean and it's fuzzy. You're not able to see it properly. So I think these are the top three things which comes to my mind, Denzel, in terms of the participant and know your subject, of course.
Yeah. So it is important to research before you go in for the for any kind of resume that you're building, right? Okay. In terms of the people who are recruiting now, that's the recruiter end of it. What do you think is going to be the things that people will be looking out for now vis-a-vis what they looked for earlier? For instance, if it's an IT company, what are they going to be looking out for now? Is that going to change, or is it going to be like it was?
I think, as I've already mentioned this in a different way, which is seeing a person live in front of you, that makes a world of difference in recruitment, right? I remember while we were in the office setup, resumes, as I said, was a mammoth task because, excuse me, everybody would write everything possible under the sun in their resume. So we'll wonder as to who's the CEO and who's the sales executive, right? Everybody would write everything possible in their CV. And it was extremely difficult to judge. Video resume, a format like this, like if I had written all these things to you and send it, and imagine 100 people have written the same thing and send it to you, how will you judge the experience of a person? How will you judge what I'm speaking extempo to you? How will you judge whether there is certainty, clarity, and honesty in the person? That only comes through a certain amount of experience in life, right? And so from the other perspective, from the people who are recruiting, what will change is this part, which is the authenticity and the accuracy of recruitment. That will change dramatically. And I think even the recruiters have to be a little bit more aligned to this format sometimes the light is low and you're not able to see the face, so you can't make a lot of things. So those aspects have to be mentioned before, like a checklist to the candidate before they come.
As there are a lot of resume writers. Okay, sometimes I feel like does really require a resume writer, or while doing a video or resume, okay, we are having we put some of the tutorials and the way you're explaining that today also. So we share this kind of, even though people really require kind of mentors or writers to make their video resume.
Good question, Srini. I think for people like Naukritube, you should certainly have a section which does the specialist job, which is that, hey, there is my video available. There are maybe another 100 videos available on how to do a video resume, but I can also provide the service, and specialists are required. See, if Sachin Tendulkar couldn't have made it to where he is if he didn't have his coach, right? So we all need a specialist. I think that's a fundamental difference in India, that people think that I know everything.
I can do it on my own.
Yes. Why do I need you? Who are you to tell me? I can do it. No. You see the difference in developed nations and in our nation. Though, as Denzel in the beginning said, that we have so much of potential and ancient text, and definitely Indians are, in terms of their general IQ and EQ level, are far better, if not the best, as compared to many countries. However, this part in Indians, that I know it and I don't need any help, has to change. There are specialist jobs. Video resume is a specialist job. It has to be done with people who know the stuff, who know the technicalities of it, who know the nuances of how to do it. And this service can be done on your own, like everything else. But if you need to do a good job of it, you need a specialist.
So what is it that the candidate should be putting forward in say point 1, 2, 3 that he's going to be doing
I think
for any job?
for the candidate, it's a win-win situation, because you know what, writing is very difficult for many people.
Yes,
Today,
that's the point. Correct.
I have worked for 28 years, and trust me, I had to unlearn a lot of things to learn again, right? Coming from the seat of a CEO where I had hundreds of people doing the job, to standing in a queue to get my designer to print my visiting card was a big unlearning.
Absolutely true.
Right?
Right.
Unlearning is one part of it, but coming to your point, coming to your question, I think it's a best format for a candidate to project himself or herself for a candidature or for an appropriate job posting, because you can come alive, you know, in body and flesh to express who you are in a video resume format, as against the traditional format of paper resume writing, as we know. In fact, on paper itself, today, there are a few clients whose children suddenly came up and said, "Uncle, can you help me with my resume?" And they had written a resume of about 6 pages. And they had that much of information to give. But you know, the recipient will never go through that 6 page. They don't have the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you're able to compress that 6 page into a 2.5 minute talk with all your expression, all your mind and emotions into it, I think it's a better deal. So for the employer and the employee, for the recruiter and the person who's being recruited, it's a win-win situation.
Yes.
Very true. I think on that note, Srini, I think we've asked Shesa all that we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the pearls of wisdom. And this certainly will help both ways in terms of the employer and the employee, or the prospective employee, in terms of what to do right. And I think that's the most important thing. You need getting the processes right will sort out everything else for both sides of it. I'm assuming that, and it's going to be a learning. But thank you so much, and all the very best to you. And of course, everybody, you have to do just one thing, and that of course is like and subscribe us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and wherever we are, so that we can bring you lots more of this. And don't forget, if you are in the job market and you want to post a resume, Naukritube is where you need to go to do that. Right. On that note, it's bye from all of us.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.